Come on, Cheryl. Tell us what you know there, Cheryl.
It sucks being set up by the government and surveilled by the government. And sometimes it takes far too long to be able to clear those matters up.
Sounds like you know. May I say, one little reported facet of my case is one of the federal agents involved in one of the operations against me said that they intended to plant child porn in my husband's computer. This is the FBI. There's been a case that's currently in litigation, unrelated, in which an FBI agent has testified that they did that. They have done that. It was not accomplished in my case. I guess the curtain was drawn on that facet of the operation prior to them doing it. But imagine how you ever get out of that. They knew we had a young daughter at home and had allegedly conspired.
All right, folks, that's Cheryl Atkinson. That is audio, obviously, and video if you're watching on the YouTubes and the Rumbles. I have people doing both now. The podcast people are remaining podcast people. They are not going over to the video, and the video people, we're picking up people over there, which is good. Anyway, Cheryl Atkinson there, just giving you a little bit of reality check, folks. I mean, at this point, that's what we're dealing with. I mean, I just wanted to play that. I had seen that a while back. She's been making that claim for quite some time. As you know, she's a former mainstream media journalist. Now she's an investigative journalist. She started covering things they didn't like, and so sooner or later, the powers that be are after her, and it was revealed at one point they were going to try to plant stuff. I wonder if they planted things when they went down to Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago. We'll get to that. Anyway, welcome to GAMcast for August 15th, 2022. It is finally now. We are late getting to broadcast today. It's almost 4 o'clock, and it is now a sunny day. It's been cloudy otherwise. Hope you have great weather where you are. We're going to spend most of the podcast today getting you up to speed on the Trump warrant. We actually have it now, and we're going to take a look at it. It is, by the way, folks, it is something that in the law, if you're trained in the law as we are, it is something that is called a general warrant. It is absolutely unconstitutional. It's facially unconstitutional. It should not have been signed by the judge. They should drop it. They're not going to, of course, because that's not what it's about. We're going to give you a bunch of other theories about what people think it's about, from Adam Schiff to Megyn Kelly, and demonstrate to you why you should not be listening to some of these voices. There are a lot of people out there, even on quote-unquote our side, that just want to get to you and just want to perpetuate the myths and the fights and make money off of it. And some of these people are just flat out wrong. We're going to take a look at the Trafalgar Poll. It's the best poll out there. He's the best pollster in the business right now. And it's going to, at this point, we don't know to see how it'll finally shake out. But unfortunately, folks, well, I'll just tell you when we get there. But I remember what I told you last week when I said, folks, if there's not real big pushback, right, from the independents, if they don't get pushback there, or, Democrats would have been fine, but I didn't think we'd get that, and pushback on the Democrats, then they will have won. Well, you'll find out in about 10 or 15 minutes when I can get to it whether or not they've won. I'm also, if I can get to it, I don't know. We're going to try to get to the token, the White House press secretary, what she had to say about the Inflation Reduction Act. And if I can get to it, we're going to go over the new COVID guidelines, basically, and show you what's going on there. So without further ado, let's get rid of Cheryl Atkinson there. I'm not going to cover that today. We're going to, I may not cover it today. That is that's those of you who are seeing on the YouTube, so I don't want curiosity killing cats out there. So that is Eric Fang Swalwell from the first impeachment. I've had that in the can for a while. I may bring it out. We shall see. You are now looking, if you are following us on YouTube or Rumble, you are now looking at a copy of the United States District Court, Southern District of Florida. Right, there are 3 districts: the Northern, the Middle, and the Southern District in Florida. I happen to be a member of this court, so I'm very familiar with it. This is the Southern District of Florida, and you are now looking at the search and seizure warrant. You can see it right there in your own eyes. You can see it was signed there by Bruce Reinhard. Attachment A describes the property to be searched, basically the premises to be searched, 1100 South Ocean Boulevard, Palm Beach, Florida, 33480 is the zip code. That would be Mar-a-Lago, folks, in case you're wondering. There you go. All seems in order here. Now we're going to see. Now the rubber's going to hit the road. Attachment B, property to be seized. Now this is where, if you are a law enforcement official or you are an attorney, right, and you are taking this to a judge, in this case a magistrate judge. In this case, the magistrate judge, as we see here, is a man named Bruce Reinhart, right? He's a magistrate judge for the Southern District of Florida, right? And we take this to him, and he's gonna flip right to attachment B, folks. That's what he's gonna do, because that's what he cares about. He doesn't care about the property description. He assumes you can get the address right, figure out where it is. He doesn't really care where it is, unless maybe there's something going on there that it's in a really particularly bad neighborhood or another country, something like that. But in this instance, no big deal. He's gonna flip right to B. Okay, what do you be looking for? Now, folks, let me just skip ahead to the Fourth Amendment. We hadn't done the Pocket Constitution in a while. Yes, I have a Pocket Constitution. If you're watching, you can see it. I went ahead and pulled it up from Wikipedia. I want you to listen to this language, folks, and I want you to understand the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, they came about because the Constitution, whether or not it was going to be ratified, was sort of a close call. And so one of the big complaints a lot of people had was, you don't really say in this document, you say all the things the government can't do, but you don't explicitly state that we have all these rights. And they said, well, the fact that the government can't do it means you have them. That wasn't good enough for them. I said, well, let's just spell it out. And in those days, this is a true story. The founders, James Madison being the principal one, said, I tell you what, if you pass the Constitution, first Congress, we will introduce these 10 amendments. And they began to circulate the 10 amendments. They would later be the first 10 amendments. They're otherwise known as the Bill of Rights. This is the Fourth Amendment. We don't talk about the Fourth Amendment a lot, folks. We talk about the Second Amendment a lot. We talk about the First Amendment a lot. We don't talk about the Fourth Amendment. It's just as important, if not more so. All right, here it is. Ready? The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects. That's a lot of stuff, folks. In your person. That means you walking around town. Your house, Mar-a-Lago. Your papers, sound familiar? And your effects. That means everything in your orbit, right? Against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation. This one apparently is supported by an affidavit. Now, they haven't released that yet. So far, depending on what this document says, which we're going to get to, they're okay, because they seem to be following the document, as long as it's not an unreasonable. We'll see if it is. And particularly describing the place to be searched, it did, the things, persons or things to be seized. Okay, that's another big question. So is it an unreasonable search, and does it describe the persons or things to be seized? We shall see. Let's go back to the warrant. All right, I'm going to read it for you, folks. You ready? Those of you who are watching, read it on your own. All physical documents and records constituting evidence, contraband, fruits of crime, or other items illegally possessed in violation of, and there's 18 section USC, which is basically the criminal code, the feds. They've got 3 sections here listed, 793, 2071, and 1519. Folks, I'm not going to look at them. It doesn't matter. I'm going to assume that they're some crime that they've done. We'll talk about that maybe this week as the show unfolds. But let's focus on the categories, because there are 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. A, B, C, D. You ready? All right. Now, what did we just see from the Fourth Amendment? It can't be unreasonable, and it's also, it has to describe the person or things to be seized. All right, let's see if it does it. Are you ready? Number 1, any physical documents with classification markings along with any containers, boxes, including other contents, in which such documents are located, as well as any other containers, boxes that are collectively stored or found together with the aforementioned documents and containers or boxes. Okay, that's a long way of saying any physical documents with classification markings. Now, folks, I can tell you right now, any judge, if I had drafted this and had gone to the judge, they're going to have a problem with this. Because basically, of this boilerplate language afterwards, it's anything with a classification marking on it. Do you think maybe the President of the United States has some documents that have a classification marking on it? That's basically as broad. That's so broad you can drive a Mack truck through it. This document, in my view, already does not appear to describe the person or things to be seized. But you know what? Let's just say they had a bad one in there. Let's get forward. Let's say if maybe the later ones are going to clear it up. All right. Information including communications in any form regarding the retrieval, storage, or transmission of national defense information or classified material. What? Information including communications in any form regarding retrieval, storage, and transmission? What? Okay. All right, that doesn't sound very specific to me about the things that be seized. Any government and or presidential records created between January 20th, 2017 and January 20th, 2021. Now, if those of you, and everybody listening to me here who are up to date on politics, that was basically Trump's entire term. I'm going to read it again. Any government and or presidential record created between January 20th, 2017 and January 2021. That would be his entire term of office because he was voted president in 2016. He took office January 20, 2017. I'm going to read it one more time. Any government and or presidential record created during his term. Are you out of your flipping mind? Are you kidding me? So you're telling me any government or presidential record? Any? That's insane, folks. Now, good. I can tell you right now, if the judge hadn't already said, I'm not signing this between A and B, when he gets to C, he should have said, I'm not signing this. Now, I just want you to understand how it works because I've done this many times, okay? There's lots of ways they can do it. So I'm not going to sign it. You need to add language to A, add language to B. I'm not signing C under any circumstances. It's way too broad, right? It's called void for vagueness, right? Usually with the term that they use, right? Or overly broad and unduly burdensome, and overly broad is another term you hear in the law a lot. That's absurd. That's basically you can go search my house and you can grab anything you want, basically. Does not describe the things to be searched, and it's clearly unreasonable, right? And then the last one, just so you understand, you're up to speed on the entire document, any evidence of the knowing alteration, destruction, or concealment of any government and or presidential records or any documents with classification markings. Okay, folks, whoever wrote this wasn't even remotely concerned about whether the judge would read it. They knew they would get it read. They were not remotely concerned with it being read aloud or people seeing it. Okay, folks, I can tell you right now, this warrant violates the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, right? If and when this goes forward, and we shall see, it should be struck. And again, in America, we do this, right? It's called fruit of the poisonous tree. Once the search is wrong, anything you seized is not being able to be used, okay? That's what should happen here. We shall see. Now, some late-breaking news out there, folks, just so you just want to make sure you know this. As it turns out, one of the things they seized, by the way, just to show you how broad that was and why it was so broad, was Trump's passport. Now, do you think maybe that's a government document that was issued somewhere between January 20th and 2017 and 2021? Well, maybe if he renewed it, I don't know. Now, we're told, right, that they took all three of them, even a couple of expired ones. Now, the reason they did that, obviously, is so he can't leave the country. He's not under indictment, folks. Okay? Now, if that doesn't tell you what's going on here, I don't know what to tell you. All right, that's all I need to know. I didn't need to hear too much other than the FBI and they were raiding Trump. But, those of you, we do it by the book here. So I've read the warrant to you. It's obvious garbage. We shall see what happens when we get to the affidavit that supported it. That hasn't been released yet. And again, the talking heads are out there. So this is Joe Scarborough. Again, we go to the left. We debunk the left with the left. I don't want you to think I'm using Newsmax or Fox News, which is not really conservative anyway, but anybody like that. So here, take a listen to Joe Scarborough and what he had to say. And he starts reasonable and then, of course, right off the deep end. Take a listen. Okay, maybe you won't take a listen. Well, I had that set up. It's not going. Try it again here. I don't know why that did that. Bizarre. All right.
If Donald Trump is innocent, and that's what we presume him to be in America, if he is innocent, then very good. We move forward. Mm-hmm. And I think there'll be some pretty harsh recriminations in the Justice Department and at the FBI for a raid on an ex-president's home. Mm-hmm. If he's not innocent, if he's proven to be guilty, well, no man's above the law. And so, just call balls and strikes. That's all we want of the Justice Department. And right now, despite all the lies, and I've got to say, if you're out there and you...
All right. So, folks, it all sounded good, right? It's what we expected of the Justice Department. Now, he said that this morning. That was released on Twitter or wherever I got it from at 9:41 a.m. this morning. He's seen the warrant. What are you talking about? All we expect is above board, follow the rule of law. They're not following the rule of law. They didn't even bother to describe the documents to be seized. That's not a description of documents to be seized. A document, just so you understand, I'll give you a perfect example of what I mean, okay? Just say any and all passports belonging to Donald Trump. There you go. Okay, I get it. I know what I'm looking for. You're looking for my passports. All right. They're over there in the drawer and get them there. That's very simple. I mean, that's how you do it, I mean, and maybe as the show unfolds this week, maybe we'll go and get you some other criminal warrants and you'll see how they work. So then he talks about lies. Now, what in the world has this got to do with anything? If he's innocent, and by the way, just so I don't understand Joe Scarborough or people like him, but It's not if he's innocent. Listen to the way it works. Let me explain this to you, Joe. It's not complicated. It's very simple. Even you can understand it. He's innocent until proven guilty. Innocent until proven guilty. What is Donald Trump right now? He's innocent. You know why? Because he hadn't been proven guilty. It's not, well, maybe he's innocent, maybe he's not innocent, maybe he's guilty. I don't know. We shall see in the future, that's not how it works in America. And folks, this is not just a semantics argument here. This is core of understanding what it is to be an American. He is innocent. He will be innocent until he's pronounced guilty, which even if they got the trial, even if they indicted him today, right, was going to be a year before that happens. Okay, and by the way, some people have asked me. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. You don't have to stick around and wait for that. I am now 99% based on the passport story and based on the fact that they've not gotten any pushback. I think had they gotten some pushback, there might have been a question. Trump will be indicted. Trump will be arrested. Yes, he will be perp walked. He will not be permitted the courtesy of turning himself in. This is what we are now. We have become this literally almost within the last 6 years. I've watched it in real time. I've lived through it. If you'd have told me this, I wouldn't have believed it, but it's true. And folks, I don't know how we get ourselves out of this. I don't think we do. But the fact that they took the passport means they don't want him to try to leave and make it inconvenient. They want him to be able to stay. At this point, the only question is this: who's going to indict him? Is it going to be the feds? I don't know. Is it going to be the state of New York? I don't know. Maybe, probably is where I'd say. If you made me force me to bet today, I'd take the New York action. Georgia, here in Fulton County, maybe. My odds are I say it's New York, and I'll tell you why. Because for the DOJ, it's too difficult. I mean, there's just people there. There are people in the Department of Justice. There are people in the FBI. And as much as they're overwhelmingly Democrat and they don't really care about the rule of law, they still understand it's possible you could have a Republican in 2024. So you're going to have your Christopher Wrays. You're going to have your James Comeys. You're going to have your people out there who, they're system people, and they're just like, hey, we don't want this stink all over us. And it's going to come back to haunt us. New York, you're probably not going to see a Republican in any state office in New York for 10 years or longer, maybe more. So Letitia James, she got no downside. I mean, I covered it last week. I can't even believe that you can actually be elected Attorney General and continue as Attorney General there, and all you do is basically chase after Trump. I mean, I don't know what attorneys generals do, but I'm sure they have real crime to fight. They don't have to go after individuals. Anyway, but I do believe Trump will be indicted. And for those of you who think that Trump won 2024, folks, you're going to see. We're going to get to the Trafalgar Poll soon. I'm telling you, you're hearing it here first. Mark it down. Folks, it's going to be a dogfight 2024. I don't know. I'm not saying he can't win. I'm saying if you think he just got handed the presidency and that this was a big mistake on their part, you are listening to the wrong people. I'm going to prove it to you. But the reason that they did this, and I'll get back to Scarborough here, the reason they did this is pretty clear at this point, to nationalize 2022. They're not afraid of Trump. Those of you who think that, and we'll get to Megyn Kelly, they're scared of Trump to run. They're scared that you just don't know what you're talking about. They want Trump to win. They are begging Trump to win. That's why there's a chance he won't get indicted. I still think he gets indicted, and I'll explain why when we get to it. But I still think that might be. But if those of you who think they're scared of Trump, you don't know what you're talking about. They're begging Trump to run. Trump's the only chance they got. I'll explain why in a minute. Let's listen a little more Scarborough. I got a bunch of other stuff to get, a bunch of other people on this warrant we got to get to. So anyway, let's let Scarborough again. He spent about 2 seconds butchering the Constitution. Now he goes on to this.
Believe those lies, right? Even after they've been disproven, you're stupid. And you may want to call somebody, try to get in touch with a professional and see if you can be deprogrammed from the cult that you're now in.
He takes.
And I don't
takes
say that.
advantage of
I don't
people.
say that with any malice. Mm-hmm. I just say if you believe the lies that you've been told over the past week and a half, lies that have quickly been disproven by Donald Trump's next lie. You see, because lie number 2 undercuts lie number 1. Lie number 3 undercuts lie number 2. It just keeps going that way. And I'm just saying, as a friend, viewers, and
anyway, so folks, I want you to understand. He just said that about the FBI, and I don't know what lies he's talking about. And again, this is all part of the art of the hoax, right? I mean, Trump wrote a great book called The Art of the Deal. This is the art of the hoax. The lies number 1, lie number 2 debunks lie number 1, and lie number 3 debunks lie number 2, and lie number, right? I can do that. How about you tell me what he said, and let's talk about whether it's a quote-unquote lie or not. Notice how they never bring that up. And again, he's talking about the FBI. I just showed you the warrant. I just showed you the goods. I read the frickin' thing to you. I read the frickin' Fourth Amendment to you. I didn't just say, oh, this is an unreasonable search and seizure. It violates the Fourth Amendment. I didn't say that and then just move on. I showed you the document. I read you the 14th or the Fourth Amendment. Why doesn't he? Right? It's the art of the smear. And you got Mika over there just smiling. And she's talking about the FBI. The F-frickin' which just, you heard Cheryl Atkinson say, they were going to plant child porn on her husband's computer when they had a third grader, right? Folks, if you don't think that happens, and let me tell you something, you can get cleared until the cows come home. You ain't never getting that stink off you. And that's if you got the couple $100,000 to hire the lawyer to defend you from the lawsuit. And, and from your child services taking your kid away and all that. Even after all that's done, people still going to go, yeah, those Atkinsons, I don't know what goes on in that household, right? Oh, it's the same FBI that spied on Trump. The same FBI, right? The same Comey that went and briefed him on the Steele dossier because he needed a news hook. And then the same Comey that went and leaked documents to the New York Times so they could get Mueller appointed. Oh, these people I'm supposed to trust. Anyway, and we're the cult, right? We're the ones that believe the lies, not these people. Okay, thanks, Joe. And he used to be a relatively rational person. All right, folks, if you're following us on the visual media there, you are now looking at what I think is what they were after there, okay? First, yes, it's a fishing expedition. Yes, it's a witch hunt. They got a broad document for a reason because they weren't worried about the rule of law and this pesky stuff. Who was that woman from New Jersey that leaked right before the gubernatorial election last year? And she came in there and she said, there's people with all the freedom and all that blink, right? It's all these things. They're not worried about that. They're not worried about that. So it definitely was. They want it broad enough so that I can seize anything I want. And then it says right here, any government document, any document for the 4 years you're president. I can take anything I want, right? So they weren't worried about the rule of law. But take a look at this. This is interesting. Then President Trump issued this memorandum. This is January 19th of 2021, one day before he's going to leave office, on declassification FBI Crossfire Hurricane records circulated to AG, DNI, CNA, may now be relevant once holdings from Monday's search at Mar-a-Lago cataloged, okay? Memorandum on declassification of certain materials related to the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Right here, at my request, on December 30th, 2020, the Department of Justice provided the White House with a binder of materials related to FBI Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Portions of the documents in the binder have remained classified and have not been released to the Congress or the public. I requested the documents so they could be declassified, so that a declassification review could be performed, so that I could determine to what extent in the binder should be released in unclassified form. Folks, translation alert here. You ready? Basically, they're looking for those documents. Hey, you got secret documents. We've been looking everywhere. That's why it took a year and a half, folks, because we were like, we came in, we got Mueller appointed, we did everything we could. We got you investigated. We got away with Crossfire Hurricane. We got away with lying to the FISA court. We got away with getting a special counsel appointed. We got away with all that. We finally got you impeached a couple times. You weren't reelected, and booyah. That's it. Great. Now, where are those documents about Crossfire Hurricane that show how guilty we were? Oh, they're not here. He must have taken them with him to Mar-a-Lago. That very well could be. That's, to me, is the best theory I've heard out there of what they're looking for. That's why the thing's so broad. That's why they don't have any specificity in it. They just want to go in there and look through every single solitary thing they can find, and they try and get stuff that incriminate them. Folks, and query me this, Batman, how in the world can the FBI go out and do something like that if it's about them? They can't. They're conflicted. If Biden even cared, if Merrick Garland even gave a whit about the rule of law, he would be appointing a special counsel right now. If we were a nation of laws and not of men, if we were still a constitutional republic, there would have been a big backlash. And number two, you'd be seeing a special counsel. We're not, and there's for a reason. All right, folks, Megyn Kelly kind of went viral over the weekend talking about this. Here's what she thinks is going on here. I'm going to tell you why it's not. Take a listen.
My response to that is bullshit.
Sorry, I should have warned. There's a couple of things in here. I don't know how to, I can't believe it. I don't have the technology. Sorry. If you don't like it, flash forward about 2 minutes.
Bullshit. There is no way that's what they were searching for. There's no way. I watched all the coverage last night. I've read everything. And I read Andy McCarthy this morning, who, as it turns out, agrees with me. I agree with him. He's a former top prosecutor, former assistant U.S. attorney. And he says the same thing. This is about January 6th. If you believe this is about classified documents having to do with bullshit Trump took with him when he left office, your head is in the sky. This is about...
Okay, I agree it doesn't have to do with classified documents, but what's it got to do with January 6th?
January 6th and the never-ending desire to get Donald Trump on something. They don't want him to run for election again. They're mad he did not get convicted on the first or this.
First, listen, I agree. It's definitely about they want to get Trump and winning. I understand that. But it doesn't make any sense. January 6th doesn't have anything to do with anything. There are no documents in there about January 6th that we don't already know about. Yeah, Trump got alternate electors. Yeah, Trump got people to come to the rally. Yeah, Trump was trying to convince people to object to certification of certain states to toss the election to the House. Folks, that's January 6th in a nutshell. There's nothing to that. And yeah, they don't want him running. What makes you think that? I did it. I may do it again as the show unfolds this week. But folks, the last time we looked at it on Thursday, I believe, we were 209, right, to 160 in the Electoral College. Democrats need 61 states, and there's a bunch of swing states. If you think Trump runs away with this thing, I don't know where you're coming from. This was done to nationalize 2022 and to nationalize 2024. Think about it, folks. It's very simple. If you go into November of this year, right, and it's, do you want Democrats controlling Congress? Do you want Democrats controlling the Senate, right? Well, you're going to be talking about inflation. You're going to be talking about crime. You're going to be talking about immigration, right? That's a fight they don't want. It's a fight we looked at. I don't have it up today, but last week we looked. It was 80-20 in the House, if that's the question, for Republicans over Democrats. It's gone. It was 60-40 Democrats to Republicans in the Senate. Why? I explained to you why last week. Because they've successfully nationalized senatorial campaigns. That's why Warnock, he's dwarfing. He's outraised Herschel Walker 10-1. All the money's coming from outside of Georgia. Why on God's green earth, if you lived in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, California, would you give a flip what Georgia has for a senator? This is unprecedented times. And the Democrats aren't stupid. They see that. Now, they hadn't figured out how to nationalize every single solitary congressional seat, but they will. But coming back to the point, Trump's in the news. Trump's being in charge. Trump this, Trump that. You raise money and you nationalize the election. Now, all of a sudden, we got a much better chance in the House. And that Senate probably goes from 60-40 to 65 or 70-30, folks. Oh, well, inflation, but what about Trump? What about that evil Nazi? Oh, that racist, right? That's all this is. This is all, and number two, I said this last week, it's all to see how far they can push you, right? I mean, they've gotten to the point now we can have a potted plant as a president. I mean, old Joe dividing out there. Everywhere he turns around, he's dividing people, but that doesn't matter. Nobody cares. He goes to Delaware every weekend. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. They've already crossed that Rubicon, right? We can run a house plant, and he can sit from, the last 6 months of the election and not even campaigning and win. Okay, well, geez, who would have thought it? But turns out you can. Now it's just, can we just raid anybody we want? Let's start with Donald Trump and a very wealthy individual who's going to have a lot of lawyers and going to every nook and cranny. Wow. Huh. Well, let's go raid the great American male. He's not going to be able to afford. He's a lawyer, so he'll defend himself. But still, right? You get the idea. It's just all to nationalize the election and push things. And folks, those that are saying they're scared, they don't want Donald Trump to run, folks, even for the sake of the argument, let me just go down that rabbit hole with you. Okay, I'll play the game. Let's say that they're right. Let's say that, oh my God, they're scared to death because Trump is just going to win, just going to roll all over 2024. They don't care. He was president for 4 years, didn't do a daggum thing, get the daggum thing done to except good economy things and some foreign policy stuff, which we may get to, we'll see, right? But they survived that, and they survived that when we used to have a little bit of the rule of law. You know how much of the rule of law they chipped away since 2016, from January 20th, 2017 to January 20th, 2021? No problem, just a couple of impeachments. Right? Throw a couple of investigations in there. Perp walk him into a couple of DAs in states or cities that have Democrats in them. They're not scared of Trump. And in the meantime, they fundraise like, it's going out of business. They're not scared of Trump, folks. It's to nationalize the election, plain and simple. All right, so Adam Schiff was out there. He went on to Face the Nation. Folks, I say it all the time. You know, people say, well, that's just NBC or MSNBC. Well, that's CNN. I mean, they're a little on the extreme side. You know, there are some of these. But, you know, I mean, CBS, ABC, you know. NBC, I get it because they are an affiliate and they own MSNBC. So there may be, and this is CBS, folks. You're CBS, you bring on Adam Schiff on the weekend. This was on the weekend, again, to Face the Nation. Really? Come on. You're not serious at all about getting to the quote-unquote news or the truth or anything remotely approaching the target of truth when you bring Schiff on. I mean, this guy has no credibility. I mean, but anyway, here he is. Take a listen.
California Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff. He's the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and his book, Midnight in Washington, is now out in paperback. Good morning to you, Chairman Schiff.
Good morning.
You were typically told about covert operations.
He's ruining the country.
It could be done.
He's ruining the country. And in the meantime, he has time to write a book that his staff wrote, and I'm sure the royalties are going to go to him. Makes a lot of sense to me, but anyway.
If it were disclosed, so the fact that they were in an unsecure place that is guarded with nothing more than a padlock.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that, folks. Sorry.
It's now out
try it again.
in paperback. Good morning to you, Chairman
I
Schiff.
fast-forwarded it too far.
Good morning.
Sorry.
You were typically told about covert operations, ongoing national security threats. Do you have any sense at this time whether the information that Donald Trump had in his Florida residence posed any kind of threat to national security?
Well, all I know about the actual materials is what was in that search warrant inventory, but from that alone you can tell there was a serious risk to disclosure potentially of sources and methods, because some of those documents were marked top secret, sensitive, compartmented information. That is among the highest designation in terms of the extremely grave damage to national security that could be done if it were disclosed. So the fact that they were...
All right, he's in there. He's talking about the warrant, same warrant you saw. I could have showed it to you. I didn't. They did release what is a little bit of an inventory, and the inventory does talk about top secret material and classified things. But it could be this, could be that. Folks, translation alert, that he doesn't know what's in there. You don't give me the could be this, could be that. Tell me the facts. So he doesn't know anything. He's seen an inventory that basically is about, it's about 50 different things that they said they captured. He doesn't know any. In fact, let's do it right now. I still have it up. Here we go right here. Here's what he's talking about. If you scroll down here, here's the inventory. Number 1, executive grant of clemency, Ray Roger Stone Jr. Don't know why they took that. 1A, info Ray, president of France. 2, leather-bound box of documents. 2A, various classified /TS/SCI documents. Number 3, potential presidential record. Number 5, binder of photos. Number 6, binder of photos. Number 7, handwritten note. Anyway, number 10A, miscellaneous top secret documents. 11A, top secret documents. That's what he's talking about, folks. Okay? Again, he doesn't know what's in there, nor do I. That's all it says. It just says miscellaneous, right? Okay. Oh, come on.
Guard with nothing more than a padlock or whatever.
Is deeply alarming, and I have asked for, along with Chairman Maloney.
So he says it's alarming that they were there with a padlock, folks. Again, all this stuff, even even without the context I'm about to provide, doesn't make any sense. So okay, Schiff. So you're going to go check out Obama's residence, W's residence, Herbert Walker's residence, Reagan's residence, their library, or any of those? And those have any of these things? Of course they do, because once stuff is no longer considered top secret if it's been declassified, right? And again, they knew about the padlock. They were there 2 months ago. So why'd they wait 2 months?
A damage assessment by the intelligence community and a briefing to Congress.
Will you get one?
So he's going to ask for a damages assessment by the very people who could very much be complicit in this. Will you get one? Will you get one? Well, of course he'll get one. They work for the Democrats. I mean, this is just a joke.
Have you heard from the Director of National Intelligence?
I have not heard back yet, but I'm confident we will get one, and I'm confident the intelligence community will do a damage assessment that is, I think, fairly routine when there has been the potential risk of disclosure.
I think fairly routine. I mean, are you listening to this?
Of national security information or classified information. And what is, to me, most disturbing here is the degree to which, at least from the public reporting, it attempted, it appears to be willful on the president's part. The keeping of these documents after the government was requesting them back, And adds another layer of concern.
So if there were...
folks, I mean, listen to this imbecile. It appears to be willful on the president. So his story is the president took a bunch of stuff that revealed sources and methods. It could be a bunch of dangerous stuff. He took them. They knew he took them. They asked for them. They came down. They saw the documents 2 months ago. They asked him to put a padlock on it. They did. Now, the president, knowing he's got all this stuff, he just thought, well, I'm Donald Trump. They won't mess with me. They won't come by. That's his story. It was willful. I mean, folks, this is just sad. It's beyond sad. Anyway, see if we have any more reaction. Yeah, so here's another one, typical. So this is Michael Beschloss. He puts himself out there as a quote-unquote historian, okay? Again, this is also this morning at 7 a.m. Take a listen to this. Again, folks, this is days after this has all gone down, almost a week, right? And we've all seen the warrant. They all know the analysis I did at the beginning of the program today. Listen to his analysis.
What is going through your mind as you watch today's events unfold?
Well, just in case there are any younger people watching, and I'm sure there are, don't think that this is something that has ever happened before in American history. Let's pause for a second to look at how weird and horrible this is. The FBI is going in to search the house of an ex-president because there's serious suspicion that a federal crime was committed here.
All right, so again, all right, Michael, I'll play the game. I'll take the Pepsi challenge. Yeah, I don't think it's ever happened before, but I don't know that it's the crime. It could be the politicization that's going on. Anyway, let's see what else.
No, they don't do this just for fun. So that's something serious.
Yeah, we didn't used to do this for fun, but now we know they do, and they do it to fundraise, and they do it to nationalize elections so they can turn the tides. I mean, look, you've all seen the polls. They ain't got a chance of keeping it in the House right now, and the Senate, the Republicans are still within reach of taking it back, right? Oh, that's trouble for them. Let's see who else he has to say.
Number two, the reason we are finding out that they probably did it, at least in part tonight, is something called the Presidential Records Act. And Alicia, tonight, of all things, is the exact anniversary of the night that Richard Nixon resigned and was driven.
I mean, these people are clowns. I mean, this is supposedly a historian. It's just unbelievable. All right, so to the Trafalgar Poll. And we're going to have to start wrapping up the show here because 37 minutes in. It's unbelievable how long it takes to debunk their nonsense. So, folks, Trafalgar, I've talked about him before. He's the most accurate pollster. I told you last week, look for reactions from Democrats, mainstream media, and independents. It doesn't matter what we think. We believe in the rule of law. They know that. They don't care. They don't want our vote. They're going to send the IRS after us. That's what they're going to do. Not worried about it. Here we are right now. One of the first polls I've seen. Who do you believe is behind the FBI raid on President Trump's private home? This is Democrats. Trump's political enemies, 11.9%. An impartial justice system, 70.5%. Folks, unbelievable. Anyway, so didn't move the Democrats. It was no problem for them. The GOP, the numbers are almost the exact opposite, but the GOP is obviously a little bit more concerned, 76.7% that it was Trump's enemies. Here's where we got to get to where it matters. No party other. Trump's political enemies, 53.9%. An impartial justice system, 35.3%. Ding, ding, ding. Democrats just won. But, oh, my God. I mean, they are jumping in the streets. They are having a party. They're celebrating. We've only got 4%, 4.0 to get that down to 49.9, and a majority believe they either don't know, don't care, or think it's an impartial justice system. Folks, that's why they're doing it. That's why they're going to continue to do it. All right, last theory I had on this. I'm gonna have to kick this to tomorrow. I don't have enough time. I do want to get to two other stories. So, folks, this was from Ann Lesby. She's a PhD out there. She's got about 57,000 followers. She's a social media influencer. Haven't stopped crying since the CDC issued the new guidelines. Basically, back to normal. Folks, these are people. They matter. We're going to have to live with them. As you heard over the weekend, I'll probably cover it more tomorrow or this week as the show unfolds. Basically, it's back to normal. They gave no reason why it took 2.5 years to do it, but they did it. All right, Ken Pierre, Biden's press secretary, trying to explain the Inflation Reduction Act. It takes a listen.
But let me ask you, it's called the Inflation Reduction Act. But the Congressional Budget Act Office, which is nonpartisan, said that there would be a negligible impact on inflation this year and barely impact inflation at all next year. I mean, isn't it almost Orwellian? How can you call it Inflation Reduction Act when the nonpartisan experts say it's not going to?
So I appreciate that. I appreciate the question. We've actually addressed this to see.
They've actually addressed it. Anyway, at least they're pushing back a little. Not enough, but we shall see. It's not an Inflation Reduction Act, and everybody knows it. Anyway, you are now all caught up to date on the news of the day, and if you like this live stream, I hope you tune back in tomorrow.